What's up, guys, and welcome back. My name is Jake Towell, and this is my art series where I share with you guys some pieces throughout my art career. Today, I have another fan art piece. Like I said in my Star Wars pieces, I don't tend to do a lot of fan art, but this one is one that I made for my favorite streamer on Twitch. He actually reacted to this illustration. I put it in his Reddit at the time, and he thought it was cool, so that was also really sick. And if you couldn't have guessed already by the giant nose, this is an illustration of the streamer XQC. I really love the colors in this piece, how I illustrated this piece. I took a lot of inspiration from the dudes illustrations that I did. If you haven't seen that episode, definitely go check that out. And overall, I think this came out fantastic. It seemed he also enjoyed it, so I just wanted to share it with you guys today. So without further ado, let's get right into the sketch phase. So initially on this sketch phase, you can see that his head isn't sketched using the same brush as I usually do for my sketch phases. That is because I actually already illustrated his head for a completely separate piece before this one, and his head actually derives from a traditional ink illustration, which I'll put on screen right now. This actually came from a project I was doing trying to illustrate famous people or known faces in the most minimal line work as possible to try to make them as recognizable as possible. And as you can see from the original doodle, if you know XUC, it came out fantastic, and I really wanted to realize that sketch into a full composition, and that's what I'm bringing you guys today. So let's get back to the sketch phase. As you can see, again, there isn't a ton of detail within this one, but there are some details within the sketch phase I didn't go through with yet, like the keyboard, some of the wire, and a little bit of the line work in the hands. More or less, I got the general idea what I wanted to down, so I would call it a successful sketch phase, but the line work phase is where it really shines. So let's get right into the line work phase. Yeah, as usual, at this time, I kind of figured out my style, and the line work is super clean. I'm really proud of how this one turned out. Everything's spaced out really nicely. The hands, you can see the keyboard, you can see the wires fully realized, and the line work looks really nice, like I said. You can see in his hair, the line work actually splits. I don't usually tend to deal with shapes that aren't closed within my art because my colors are very solid, but I decided I could break my own rules within this one just because of the visual changes within the hair transitioning to his face, and you'll see that in the fully rendered image, how I kind of dealt with that issue. But yeah, that's the line work. Looks super clean. So without further ado, let's get into all those small little Easter eggs, details about XUC you didn't know or did know in the fully rendered image. Alright guys, here we have XQC. He has been my favorite streamer for a very long time. He's been keeping me well entertained ever since the COVID era, and I absolutely love all the colors and stylized illustrations of some things we know and some things we don't know, and I'm super excited to talk about it with you guys today. Let's start with his head here. Obviously, if you don't know, he has a huge nose, and this really helped with the identity of XQC within this illustration. Another thing that really helped was his hair. He has brown hair, but he always dyes it platinum, and over time it slowly, you can see a shift between that platinum to that brown. So I really wanted to keep both those identities alive within his hair, and I think this really helps with the identification of who I'm trying to illustrate here, and just looks really cool. As you can see in the line work phase where I said there was going to be some trouble, I kind of realized and figured out right there and closed some of the shapes, so it looks really nice. Moving down from his head onto his chain, we have his logo actually hooked onto this chain around his neck. Very identifiable XUC logo, also stylized. I had to include his logo in there just in case no one knew who this was. I really love the contorted shape of his body here and how his clothes wrap around and his arms wrap around and his legs bend. And overall, again, I took inspiration from my dude's illustrations, and overall just gives a very abstract yet grounded look of XUC here and looks really cool. I love this really cool cherry colored shirt with this very lime green pants. And moving down to his shoes, we have the first Easter egg are these Travis Scott shoes that he got a while back that he really liked, so I decided to include that within this piece. I want to talk about his left arm here moving up, holding a mouse. He is a PC gamer, a streamer. Of course you need his setup. We have his mouse in his hand here, wired to his monitor, which doesn't really make sense, but who cares? And on that monitor we see XQC, which is pretty cool. Following that right arm, wrapped in the wire of of the keyboard of the PC setup. Of course, you need a keyboard if you've got a mouse and a monitor. And I really like the abstractness of the keyboard, the monitor, and the mouse. And I think wrapping the wire around his arm was a really cool little detail as well. And last but not least, this little emoji here, XQCL. If you know XQC, you gotta include XQCL. So I decided to illustrate him in this little blank space at the bottom of the composition. And there you guys have it, XQC. I unfortunately do not have any prints to sell of this piece, but if you guys actually want some prints of this piece, I can put it up on my store and you guys can grab some. I really love how this turned out. It's super cool that he actually saw it and appreciated it, even if it was just for 3 seconds. And if you guys enjoyed this piece, leave a like, leave a comment down below who your favorite streamer on Twitch is. And of course, if you enjoyed my art and enjoyed this video, consider subscribing as it helps me out a ton. Again, thanks for watching, and I will see you in the next one. Peace.